Okay, we've all been there. An appliance dies at the absolute worst possible moment. Well, today we're going to put on our detective hats and solve a classic home repair mystery. One that, if you get it right, could save you a ton of time, money, and a whole lot of frustration.
So, picture this. It's sweltering outside, just the hottest day of the year, and then nothing. That cool, life-saving air just stops. Your AC has officially called it quits. It's a moment we all dread, right? So today, we're going to investigate exactly what to do next.
Now, in a lot of modern HVAC systems, our investigation starts with one prime suspect, the inverter board. You can think of this little circuit board as the brain of the operation. It controls some really key parts, like the fan motor. So when it fails, the whole system just grinds to a halt. So when we get to the crime scene, in this case the service cabinet, it gives us some immediate clues. One of the most common signs of a failed board is that none of the little LED indicator lights are on. It's just dark. You might even see some real physical evidence, like black charring marks on the board itself. Basically, the system is completely dead.
Okay, so you see a burnt-out board. You might be thinking, case closed. But hold on. Before you jump to conclusions and start shopping online, let's talk about a really critical error a lot of people make. It's a total rookie move.
The easiest, most obvious fix seems to be just replacing the part. I mean, you found the broken piece, so you just swap the old board for a new one. It seems so logical, maybe. A little too easy?
And this is where our source material gives us a huge, very important warning. Rushing to replace that board without doing a full investigation is basically a recipe for disaster. Why? Because that brand new board can get totally fried the second you turn the power back on.
So here's the bottom line. Making this rookie mistake turns a pretty expensive part into a very, very expensive paperweight. You're right back to square one, but now you're out even more money and time. Super frustrating, right?
All right, so let's get into the proper investigation and figure out how to avoid that costly mistake. This is where we separate the amateurs from the real HVAC detectives.
See, the board is our prime suspect, for sure, but it almost never acts alone. Like any good villain, it probably had some help. A smart detective knows you absolutely have to check for accomplices, the other components connected to the board, before you can even think about closing the case. And what's great is that this gives us a perfect interrogation checklist. So for the fan motor, we need to check its electrical windings. We're looking for equal resistance across them. Somewhere around 30 ohms is a pretty good sign. We also check that it isn't shorted to ground. Then for the compressor, we make sure it's not the reason the breaker is tripping, and that it also isn't grounded. If these potential accomplices are clean, we can move on.
Okay, so we've cleared our potential accomplices. Now, we can dig even deeper and uncover the real root cause of the failure. This is the big reveal of our whole investigation.
And here's the twist. The problem, a lot of the time, isn't another electronic part at all. You might be surprised to hear that the real culprit is actually the unit's environment. The board was a victim of an outside attack. All the evidence points to a crime of negligence, a poorly sealed service cabinet. This could be because the whole unit was installed way too close to a wall, or more often, just because the service panel wasn't screwed on tightly. This breaks the protective seal, and that lets in all sorts of destructive stuff like moisture and even pests. The source material actually mentioned finding 2 spiders inside one of these units.
And this really shows you just how widespread this preventable issue is. This isn't some rare, one-in-a-million accident. According to the source, it is very, very common for these boards to fail, and it all comes down to a loose service panel.
So, with the full story revealed, we've got our victim, our cleared suspects, and the real culprit. We can finally do the repair the right way and close this case for good. Following these exact steps is your key to success, and the order here is absolutely critical. Step 1. Investigate the accomplices, the fan motor and compressor. Step 2. Remedy the root cause. That means securely sealing that service panel. Only then, for Step 3, do you actually replace the board. And finally, Step 4 is to power it all on and verify you got it right.
So, the single most important takeaway from this whole thing is this. You have to think like a detective, not just a parts swapper. The real goal isn't just to replace what's broken, it's to understand why it broke in the first place.
And with that, our case is closed. The real culprit was nothing more than a few loose screws, just a tiny oversight that led to a complete, catastrophic failure. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What other small things are we all overlooking that could lead to the next big, expensive problem? Definitely some food for thought.